Hey everybody, we will start in a moment. I covered some of this last night, but we're going to cover the rest of it. I'm just going to go grab myself a cup of coffee and some water. I just figured I'd put this on to give people a chance to show up. So, in the meantime, I will treat you to the Baldo that launched 1,000 A-logs. I'm just going to put on the clip of Nick Rado explaining the Baldo. So we'll see how this goes. All right. Got quite a show for you tonight. Got quite a show for you today. But yeah. Anyways, I will be back.
The Baldo. It takes it out to you. So the Baldo review is coming at some point. I've got at least one more full on go with it. We started with no rings, added one ring. The rings are better. The rings are better. So as a demonstrable. We'll do this real quick. We won't spend all this time on this. Because like I said, a full review is coming. But so here you go. This is the Baldo. And this number, this is Drexel's, this is unused. But this number you got to do and shove your balls in there. And it's really terrifying that you might snap them shut. And it just, like, these things kind of get in the way. All right? So, no ring, not recommended. Once you put this fucker on, first, this guy goes on, and it goes on way easier. You got to lubricate the inside of this thing. All right. And you got to lubricate your ball sack. But then you pop this thing open, drop the boys in, and then this thing goes right up to the top. All right. This thing goes on real fucking easy once that's all contained. Way, way better once you got one ring on. Now, I can't tell you about two rings, but two rings is going to be... we'll see. Might have to wait a couple days. Oh, but that's the weird thing about it. You have to put it on while you are completely unaroused. You have to put it on while you're completely unaroused. If you try and put that thing on while you have an erection, it will not fucking work. Guys, you know about this. What's my affiliate link? I don't have one yet. I've got to respond to their email. But anyway, so I'm thinking two rings will be great. Let me be clear, though. No rings was awesome. One ring was awesome. I'll let you know about two rings. I did not hit the ballgasm yet. Still looking for that one. Maiden says, what about the dick? Oh, okay. It's a little graphic, but you'd read the same thing on the website, but it's true. It, once you get going, that thing takes off. And it lays on top of your lady bits like this. And sometimes like this. You will enjoy it. How does it not slide off your balls as soon as you pull it? Trust me. It ain't fucking going anywhere. But anyway, it's like this. Yeah, more experience necessary, and eventually I'll do a full review. What she had to say about the Baldo was, at first she said, damn. And then second, she said, I very much enjoyed it. So.
Hello, everybody. So I just figured I'd bring that in just to explain the Baldo question. So let me know if my air conditioner is too loud. I'll try turning it off. It's just kind of hot in here because it's summer. So if the AC is too hot, I'll try turning it off for a while. I've tried to put it in the background a bit, but just let me know. Anyways, so last time on Nick Rado, for those of you who aren't aware, okay, so let let me see if I can just cover this in like 5 minutes or less. So Nick Rekeita is an internet lawyer. He was basically the founder of LawTube. He came up as kind of being in the center of a whole bunch of different sectors. He had some association with the dissident right, some association with kind of more mainstreamy conservatives, internet blood sports, anime, stuff like that. And he was notable for being probably the most stable normie tier guy in the sector. So he was this kind of wholesome, like evangelical Christian guy from Minnesota. He had 5 kids. In contrast to people like Ethan Ralph and Andy Worski and Juice Moon and all these guys, some of whom through little fault of their own are kind of have dumpster fires. He seemed like he was there, and a lot of people looked up to him as their internet daddy and thought that Nick Rekeita was like evidence that you could make it on YouTube without becoming a complete and total train wreck degenerate. And he at one point was the single biggest live streamer, I believe, on YouTube. He made the most money in superchats. He was covering Johnny Depp. He was covering Kyle Rittenhouse, Derek Chauvin, kind of all these big trials, and he built up a lot of people's careers and basically built up LawTube. But over time, he started to get lazy. He stopped really doing streams. He's done more and more stuff about his personal life. And eventually it became very obvious. If I don't have the decline thing in front of me because it wasn't supposed to be the core of this, but he became gaunt and started to look like he was dead. And it was pretty obvious that he was high out of his mind on cocaine. I'm just going to take a antihistamine. I'm getting, my nose is a bit, ironically. What was I saying? Yeah, so it was pretty clear that he was on drugs. He drank constantly on stream. He would go through entire bottles of bourbon and whiskey and stuff like that. He would lick the bottle. He started posting like nude pictures of himself and his wife. He would like give out his phone number to people who would pay him, and just all this other insane stuff. He went to hedonism too. In the Caribbean swinger clubs. This couple moved in with them, the Imholtes, and they were having this polycule, and they were all just doing drugs and shit. And basically what wound up happening was there was a combination of what was it again? It was a combination of a bunch of people reported on him. So his kids are homeschooled, and they're homeschooled through his church, and the church has an arrangement where they get a bunch of the kids together and they're taught by different adults in the church. And they kind of go back and forth between them, and they teach different subjects. And they started to notice that the kids were smelling bad. The kids were smelling bad. They were stinky. The kids complained that they were hungry. A whole bunch of people, I think it was at least 4 or 5 people, I believe including Kayla, his wife's sister, went to the pastor and were like, look, there's something going on here. These kids are being mistreated. These kids aren't being fed. This guy's obviously on drugs. From my understanding, the pastor and a bunch of people at his church noticed he would get up in the middle of a service, go off, come back completely stoned out of his mind. I mean, sometimes you got to get up during a service. I don't like doing it, but once or twice a year, you just got to go. You can't hold it in, but it wasn't like that. He would come back high out of his mind. So they reported him. A bunch of other people reported him. The police watched the streams where he was clearly stoned out of his, high out of his mind. So they raided his house. They found 26 grams of cocaine, 15 ketamine tablets, a whole bunch of loaded guns, and God knows what else. And the body cam footage will eventually come out, but apparently it looked like a crack den. It smelled, there was garbage and stuff everywhere. They hadn't cleaned up after the dog. One of the girls was begging for clean clothes from the police officer. It was fucked. So Nick spent a couple days in jail, and then he was charged with a variety of different crimes, and then he decided, I'm going to come back. I always come back. I'm the William Afton of YouTube. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come up with these conspiracy theories to justify it. So what most people who are not retarded would say is, you know, if you're being charged with crimes, especially if you're a public figure, maybe you should just shut the fuck up. Maybe you shouldn't be talking about your case. Maybe you shouldn't be insulting the various people involved and stuff like that. But Nick Rekeita knows better. He has a vanity plate called the Law Pope. It says Law Pope on it. Just see if I can find this. The funny thing. Okay, so just a side note. We'll just take a slight field trip. So, from my understanding, and I think this is confirmed, the police officer who was assigned to bring in Nick Rekeita is Jim Felt. Yes, his name is Jim Felt. We can hope when he drags Rekeita off to jail, they say felted. He says, you just got felted. And the CPS agent, is last name is Sweep, and he will confirm it in this. So rather than just shutting up, he's been going on, running his mouth, insulting the judge, talking about conspiracy theories, talking about his First Amendment rights, about how it was planted, about how Nick Rekeita is a fighter for freedom. And a lot of people have turned on him. I think not just because they think he's guilty, because of the way he's acted over this has been really disturbing. The cope, though, is, so we have a couple copes. The first cope is that the drugs belong to his kids, and they framed their father. That he's taking the fall for his kids, like a good father should. There's also, people are saying, well, this was good parenting on his side because it helps to get them toughen up. The guy, we'll get to him in a second. The Earthworm Jim guy, Doug Tenapple, said that, yeah, well, when my kids were growing up, they sometimes wouldn't eat and their like skeletons were showing. And I'm like, dude, that's not like, I don't get how that's a defense. To the defense. But so the basis of his argument, as best as I can determine, is that, and we'll watch the clips and you can say if I'm exaggerating or not, but the Constitution of the United States means that he can do drugs, he can have guns around while he's high, he can give his kids drugs, he can do all this shit, and that is his constitutionally protected rights. And if you don't think it's a good idea, then you're a slave. You're a slave, you're a cuck. Now, the most recent thing that led me to do this video is somebody leaked a report, and we will cover Nick's response to it. But the report was from CPS, and they tested all of his kids for cocaine. Now, drugs will build up in your system in a variety of different ways. So, like, for instance, so a lot of medications have what's called a half-life, where it is, well, the time it takes for the drug concentration levels to halve. Now, some things like side effects have a half-life of like 8 hours. So you have to take it very often, or else you're going to crash and have some sort of 1 second. Just need a sip of coffee. A blood concentration level, you have to take it constantly or else it falls and it has severe withdrawal symptoms. One of the reasons why doctors like to prescribe Prozac is Prozac has a very long half-life. I think it's 72. This is kind of relevant. Let me just... Sometimes I like to do these digressions and talk about things that are relevant or somewhat relevant. The half-life of Prozac is 4 to 6 days. So why that's often good is if the depressed person forgets to take their medication, they're not going to immediately go into withdrawal symptoms, or it's not a big deal if they miss one. So that's a blood concentration. Some of drugs will build up in your, I guess, the carotene. So when you're doing cocaine, some of it gets, trace elements of it get into your hair. So when your hair is growing, your hair follicles have some cocaine in it. Now, because hair takes obviously a while to grow, it allows you to look at it over a period of time. Maybe a good comparison that I've seen is the hair is kind of like the tree rings. You cut the tree down or you take a core sample or something, that is representative of the entire life of the tree or over a prolonged period of time. Whereas if you were to just look at a leaf, that's only representative of that particular growing season and that particular leaf. So one of Nick Rekeita's children, who was 8 years old, actually turned 9 on the day he was arrested, turned out that she had, let me just pull this up. Let me see if I can find this. Cocaine levels. Oh, I'm just trying to find it. Just trying to find the, okay, cocaine. Right, okay. So the cutoff for a positive level of cocaine is 5. Now, I'm not sure if that is, so I think that's 5 nanograms per milligram. So I'm not sure how that, or 0.5 nanograms per milligram. I'm just trying to find it. Anyways, it's 5. I'm just gonna say parts per million. I know it's probably not parts per million, but I'm just gonna say that. So the cutoff is 500, and because everybody will have some degree of drugs in their system. Sorry, it's getting hot in here. I'm gonna have to turn my air conditioner on. Because you'll just encounter things like you have the whole like poppy seed thing. You might have trace amounts of opium from poppy seeds. You might have just people are doing cocaine and they're touching things. You have a little bit of it. So 500 is the minimum to indicate usage. Now, the daughter had a concentration of 5,000, which I don't have it in front of me, but I believe that that is the level of a daily user, of a moderate daily user. She had that level of cocaine in her. So the report also indicated, no, that's an adult. That's an adult level of cocaine. So she had the level of an adult. Okay. I don't know. I can't find it. It doesn't matter. The point is that it is the concentration in her hair follicles. Now, the cope that we got out of this is that the police sprinkled her hair with cocaine so that her hair would test positive. Now, that's not how it works because they're looking at the inside of the hair, not the outside of the hair, so that wouldn't even be relevant. But that's the cope, that they sprinkled her head with cocaine, and then they did the hair follicle test. So this document was leaked. Now, initially, we didn't know whether this document was real or not, because it could have been fabricated, it could have been altered, who knows? I don't even know if this was legally allowed to be released. You can apparently get them in Minnesota, but you have to go to a location, a courtroom to get it, or somebody leaked it. So nobody knew if this was real or not. So Juice of Kiwi Farms had temporarily locked the thread that was discussing this because he wanted to wait to see if it was real or not. So Nick Rekeita, in his genius, texted Noel and he's like, "Thanks for locking the thread. I didn't want that to get out. I appreciate you sweeping for me, Josh." And then Josh is like, "Wait, this is real?" And Nick's like, "Yeah, this is real. This is real. This isn't fake. But thanks for cleaning it up for me." So he confirmed it was real, and he confirmed it was real in this. But he said, okay, so the document is real, but the information in the document is fake. It's something that the government just put together, I guess, to try to deframe me. So that is the excuse that this was just completely and totally made up by Nick Rekeita's detractors at the local, state, and federal government. So, the other aspect of it is CPS also said wanted to give his kids back because his kids are currently in foster care. And he said that no. So the condition of that was he had to get a drug test and he had to provide the drug test to CPS. I think he also had to consent to a search of his home to ensure that there were not a bunch of drugs lying around. I mean, makes sense, right? He got the drug test. He refused to share the results with CPS. The kids are currently in foster care. So we will get into his rant about that, but we're going to just take a couple little field trips first and see some of the stuff. So we're going to start off with one of the sweepers. Let's see here. Okay. So this is Doug TenNapel.
By the way, Doug TenNapel said this apropos of nothing. Like, Doug is no friend of mine. But this is interesting. We watched Doug TenNapel on War.
So he went on Kino Casino, and they had a massive fight. His argument was, in essence, we're Christians, so we just have to forgive Nick and let him get away with everything, and there can be no accountability. You can say if that's the exaggeration or not. But then he put out this tweet, and I actually had no idea who this guy even was. Apparently he created Earthworm Jim. And he put, and this is a real tweet, anyone who uses the words felted or swept or anime pedos, it must be ignored. Now, this legit actually pissed me off. I have a rule, and I probably have violated in the past. You do not call someone a pedophile with no evidence. You just don't. Like, it's something that never washes off. It doesn't matter if it's fake. It could be the fakest, most bullshit, most no evidence claim possible. But if you get accused of pedophile, that will follow you around forever, and that can ruin your life. And I don't care if this is a joke, and I don't care. Like, the fact that this dude said people who said felted are pedos, I think he's a scumbag. You should never do that. It's just, that's how he was trying to get people on. Now, EVS, I don't even know who any of these people are, to be honest. EVS, cocaine was kids. Trying to find where he said that the cocaine was actually the kids. Try to find it. Maybe no, that's not it. Okay, here we go. I think this.
Let's not talk about Ethan fucking suggesting that Nick Rekeita's kids brought the drugs in the house. All right, let's not talk about that. Let's talk about Patrick Parnell's fucking.
Why do they? I mean. So just to follow this this ongoing kind of thread of subhuman unconsciousness, I said that Nick Rekeita's kids probably should, like, rather than going places in public, like dress shabbily with unclean, they should probably do their own laundry, and if they're hungry, they should make themselves a sandwich. And that made me an enemy of the people.
So just a correction, the washing machine was only accessible through the bedroom where the drugs, loaded guns, and fucking was going on. And the kids didn't want to go through that. And how do we know that there was food in the house to make a sandwich?
For suggesting the kids, he's blaming his kids for this. No. I'm just saying, like, if you're hungry, feed yourself and do your own lawn. The internet's crazy. So then people said Ethan's blaming the kids, and so then I just came on here and said I think the kids got the cocaine too, and people started the same people started running with that shit too. I said, yeah, I think the kids. Listen, the kids know where to get drugs. Like, adults don't really know where to get drugs, but kids do. And so I jokingly blame the kids and these guys for getting.
It was a joke, guys. It was irony, bro. It was just irony, bro.
The drugs, and retards decided to take that just as seriously.
It was just irony, bro. It was just irony. So for those of you who aren't aware, so what an irony bro does is an irony bro is someone who says something that they mean, but slightly leave a little bit of ambiguity as to whether it's serious or not. And what they can do then is, if someone winds up, if there's blowback or people get angry about it, what they can do is pretend the whole thing was a joke. And it's very obvious that it wasn't a joke. It's very obvious that they were serious about it. That's what their actual opinion was. But they're just pretend it's a joke afterwards, and they try to gaslight their audience and say they're retarded. He probably meant this. It's consistent. Like, it'll get to the point where it's consistent with everything else they believe in and other stuff they've seriously said in the past. But they will just play off the irony bro angle, even though it clearly wasn't a joke. And I think this is the case. I think he was actually blaming the kids. But anyways. Well, the other cope is that one of his children is 16 years old, and they say the 16-year-old should have stepped up and done all the stuff. They should have gone to school full time and, I guess, gotten a job to get money and cooked for the kids and driven them around illegally, because they wouldn't have their full license at that point in their life. And that is the explanation for Nick Rado. Now we're going to take a look at our bro here, Robert Barnes. Robert Barnes, who is he might be becoming a lolcow. So he is this constitutional libertarian lawyer who basically everything he touches turns to shit. He was involved with the Alex Jones thing. He was, from my understanding, the mastermind behind this. So this is his cope. The fact that he is his thing is 1776lawcenter.com is his website, I think says a lot. So this is his explanation. And this is kind of has formed the basis for the entire Nick Rado defense as to why. So let's take a look at this. I'm not sure exactly where this starts.
Promo code VIVA, 10% off your first order, so make it a big one. And then they got medium dark peaberry. I like the dark roast, obviously. 1775. Loves some of this close. What's a member of? Seen Barnes' tweet, and Barnes messaged me, says, "You're going live. We might have to pop on and talk about it." So, Barnes, get ready, sir. How goes the battle? I feel weird seeing you on a weekday.
Yeah, indeed. A special edition, Viva and Barnes. It's time for...
I think it was in this video where he said, like, one of the people who was criticizing Nick was a pedophile who moved to Thailand to fuck kids.
The OG of LawTube to educate the rest of LawTube. Which is apparently proving that more than a few of them are constitutionally illiterate. And some of them apparently are reading the Constitution with their one bad eye.
Dude, like, no one cares about the Constitution. Firstly, I'd just like to say no one gives a shit. The fact that they keep thinking that liberal judges are going to care about the Constitution, they're like, well, the Constitution says this, and the liberal judge is like, who cares?
Some others that looks like something out of a Jabba the Hutt movie are educating other people about their health conditions and confusing the criminal law in the process. A lot of people in LawTube have been responding to the Sunday show and making complete retards of themselves, revealing the degree to which how many of them are just
Barnes, I would not be calling other lawyers retards.
Completely illiterate about the Constitution. And I think your point is right. people in LawTube, especially, or those concerned about the Constitution, just remove the name of the person here. Forget who the person is here.
Well,
it's George Jones. It's Jack Brown. It's whomever, because people are so caught up in the emotions of the individual involved that they're not just applying basic constitutional law principles.
Basic constitutional
and then more than a few
law.
people are just grifting, like potentially criminal Sean. The only thing accurate about his name is probably the criminal part.
Barnes is unleashing now.
This is a guy that only the world only knows about because of Nick Rekeita, and he's making basically just ridiculous statements about probable cause in the Fourth Amendment. And this goes back because we'll also bridge into reviewing the Trump closing arguments, which are happening as we speak. We can't, unfortunately, broadcast them because the corrupt judge won't let the world see them, but we can follow some of the really good Twitter commentators out there that are reporting it, like Inner City Press, Matthew Lee. And we got a huge ruling out of the Eighth Circuit Court of particular massive win. But
I'm just going to skip ahead a little bit.
And it's like
and they're infusing things in the complaint that actually aren't in there. Infusing things.
So people have heard of Viva Frey before. I have no idea who this dude even is.
4 days later, Robert, with the Rekeita thing, there's a number of issues going on, but I think the toughest thing is people separating what they personally believe based on their own observations of Rekeita's behavior from the complaint. And it's like
and they're infusing.
See, guys, that is what it is. It's like they're trying to separate observable reality from theoretical reality, and what they should do.
Infusing things in the complaint that actually aren't in there. Infusing things in the. A bunch of LawTube owes me an apology. Right?
Why?
I don't know how many people I was like, Barnes is just speculating on the search warrant. He can't.
Well, who even cares about LawTube? I honestly, I didn't even know LawTube existed before this, because it sounds really cringe.
Can't possibly know what's in the search warrant. Well, folks, when you have a criminal complaint and a probable cause affidavit in support of detention, and you can use something called common sense, and you can use something called lived experience, which, granted, I probably have a lot more of in the law in criminal and constitutional cases than all of LawTube combined. But
yeah, and failing them. You're like the Nick Rekeita of high-profile cases. Also, once again, let's take a slight field trip. So this was the stream that led to 1,000 A-logs. This was the stream where I just want to put this into context, because this is why people think Nick Rekeita is a drug addict. So he was doing this stream, and then halfway through he just disappeared for half an hour, and he came back, and this was...
We will probably file again our case, as it were. And then the jury, I guess, can decide whether or not I was truthful when I... Good, cool. Do you see what your congressmen are? You never will. They're way worse. They're way worse than anything you could be. I should... Hold on. Just trying to find my fucking mouse. So we can do this.
Okay, let me just go ahead a bit.
2 or 3 minutes. Making fun of me, and I'm like, God damn it. He's right. Good, I'm going to keep doing it because I want more. I want him to stay alive. I want him to do that thing where he travels around the mall and they have that treadmill. They have the black guy running on it. They're like, see if you can keep up with the black guy. And the police officers get on there and they just fall over and over. But the one Mexican gets on there, the black guy has a green card in his hand. The Mexican overtakes him every time. He's like, oh, I will shingle your roof or whatever. I'm going to get you. I'm going to get you. And he just chases him down. I want Jim to have one of those with his wheelchair with Bill Gates, where he's sitting on Bill Gates' lap, just rolling 12 miles an hour. He's like, I've got super buff arms. I don't. Jim's arms are way better than mine. And then you think about it and you're like, oh my God. If this man were in Hiroshima, he would need a fucking handicap ramp to survival. They didn't even have those. They They flash images of Japos on the wall. They put them into dust and made them into pudding for Dr. Phil or whatever. You're like, oh, God, what would Jim have done there? Like, no, he wouldn't have done that. He would have been FDR. He would have been FDR. No, he would have been an American president in his wheelchair. Would have rolled up. And then he would have died and left it to Eisenhower to solve the goddamn problem of the Japanese. Eisenhower created anime, Jim. You didn't. Why? Why'd you lie to me? Why'd you lie? You said you created anime. You're watching these big titty anime bitches. No. You created the interstate highway system. You created legal drinking age of 21. You created everything wrong with America. You tried to give it to FDR, but it was Eisenhower. Eisenhower's you. Like, oh, I have a wheelchair too. No, you didn't. You didn't, Jim. You didn't have a wheelchair. You had internet access and a time machine. And you went back. You dropped the bomb on the Japanese. Thank you, by the way. You should have done more. But you didn't. Instead, you left karaoke bars, sushi. What the fuck is wrong with you? Big booty bitches, like knocking themselves, like animated ones, because no Japanese women have an ass. They don't have an ass because they don't matter. Because Japanese men just want a hand. Hand up, hand out, just like communists. They're like, oh, wait, I can do this. And then their hand becomes a futanari. Have you seen? I know you know this. Their hand, a slit opens up here like in Vampire Hunter D, and instead of a mouth, an intelligible conversation, a giant black cock comes out, and they're like, this is Elizabeth Warren. Then they die fucking themselves. And you're like, no, this is good. I'm like, Jim, no. Why would you create anime? No, please nuke them again. Please nuke the Japanese again. Just tell them it's a campfire. They're like, what? We don't direct a campfire. I'm like, no. Keep your paper wall. Rice paper. It's even worse.
Okay, so he did this for like 3 hours. And this is what, like, they're saying that you can't judge Nick based on observable reality. Like, this does not indicate that he was high on drugs. Now, I do stuff like this if I'm doing, like, my Argent Guard, like, performance art, but...
It's not speculation anymore. And guess what? We got the search warrant today, folks, and it's as big of a crock and a joke as I said it was from day one.
I'm gonna preface this because people. First of all, I'm gonna bring up one. Did someone say why are you guys simping for Rekeita? We are talking about the well-being of
I'm simping for the Constitution of the United States, and some of us don't violate our constitutional oaths or our commitment to the Constitution because we like or don't like who it's being applied to. But I defended the 8th Amendment when Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein and Sam Bankman-Fried's rights were being violated. And I'm not a fan of any of those 3 people.
Well, and I'll say this for my own.
Wait, what's this? He's talking about how he defended Jeffrey Epstein? Can I get an optics check?
And it's as big of a crock and a joke as I said it was from day one.
I'm gonna preface this because people. First of all, I'm gonna bring up one. Did someone say why are you guys simping for Rekeita? We are talking about the well-being of.
I'm simping for the Constitution of the United States, and some of us don't violate our constitutional oaths or our commitment to the Constitution because we like or don't like who it's being applied to. But I defended the 8th Amendment when Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein and Sam Bankman-Fried's rights were being violated. And I'm not a fan of any of those 3 people.
Well, and I'll say this for my own self. Criminal charges or not, I personally believe that Rekeita desperately needs help, period. So starting with that, my own personal opinion, I'm not reading to absolve Rekeita from this affidavit, but I am reading this affidavit as though, let's just take for granted that anybody who dislikes a public figure who knows details about their lives, how they could weaponize that in order to go after them. I think Rekeita, criminal charges or not, and if he manages to find a legal way to get out of this legal...
How low in hell do you think Epstein is? He's got to be down near the bottom.
Conundrum. I personally believe he needs help. I think, legal charges or not, he should be checking himself into rehab. I think especially given the criminal charges, strategically, he should be checking himself into rehab, even if he doesn't perception for the one and people situation.
The further breakdown at Viva Barnes Law .local using the Rekeita case as a rights, and that's what people should be focused on. Not what they think or don't think.
And in fairness to Rekeita, like this is, remember back in the day, you were a little bit more critical of the individual that Rekeita was going after. I'm not going to mention those things, humiliating them to the point where
I care about the Constitution of the United States, And that's what a lot of LawTube is, either too emotionally compromised or legally illiterate to do, because this affidavit is a joke.
Well, first of all, I'm going to make a joke, actually, because it says State of Minnesota, County of Candy U High. Has anybody made that joke yet? Like the county is literally called Candy U High. K-A-N-D-I. It's not spelled the same way. Y-O.
Have anyone noticed how many non sequiturs there are? Like, have they actually addressed any of the charges yet?
H-I. That's, if nobody's made that joke yet, well, I'm the first one to coin it. People are infusing their observations of what they believe to be a downfall, an addiction problem.
Dude, look at it.
Keep your rice paper wall structures. I hope your government buildings are rice paper.
This is the
North Koreans
observation.
at least learn how to use concrete. But again, ask the Chinese how you give birth. They'll tell you the men behind the sun, right? Or whatever. They'll bind your legs and they'll call the baby retarded because it looks Vietnamese. And they will just kill you. And no, you sit there and you'll be like, no, we want to create anime. We'll create Japan. Japan will be better with anime and Tom Cruise.
They can't separate this.
And I can steel man this. You're dealing with an adult who does stupid things on his streams, gets drunk, clearly intoxicated, thinks that, his wife will take care of the kids in the morning. It doesn't mean that there's neglect because he's behaving like a degenerate. And so but someone sees this and says, well, this is an easy target. I can now make all sorts of accusations. I don't like his key break. Don't see.
Violates all the rules of warrants. First, you need to have probable cause of a crime. Second,
There was probably
you need to disclose information that would be material to the judge's decision. You can't
did.
omit that set of information, and thus you cannot submit a fraudulent affidavit by omitting material information if you know it. And so some of like an honest, conscientious judge would have never signed this search warrant based on this affidavit, which further suggests that my hypothesis on Sunday that there's political corruption and personal motivation and First Amendment violating retaliatory animus involved in this case is further substantiated. Because, so to give you an idea what the search warrant is.
I'll read it as you go along, Robert. I'll read it certain passages.
And I inferred this from the get-go that, because, and how do you infer that? Like apparently like Nate the lawyer and so there's some folks that are on Legal Mindset show, they're like, how could you possibly guess what's in the search warrant? Well, you take the criminal complaint that's already been filed that alleges the charges, that usually gets into some detail, and you take the probable cause affidavit for the detention, and that would give you a roadmap to what's likely in the search warrant. Turns out it's even weaker than I thought. But so the search warrant's a combination of three sources of information. I should say two sources of information, but three different subsources, if you will. So the first source of information is that a pastor came in and reported the statements of other people who are in turn reporting the statements of other people. So we'll get to that category. Second category is, turns out the cop is a psychology expert, doctor. He can prescribe, he can diagnose from online social media, because that's the second source, is the cop's own extraordinary expertise to know whether someone has been using drugs or not by watching a video of them.
Because, guys, it doesn't look... Like, I'm not a lawyer, but did that stream not look like the dude was fucked out of his mind on drugs? Like, so the cop apparently who looked at it was an expert in, like, addiction or drugs or something. He's a specialist in that area. So we have at least 4 people, plus the teacher, plus the pastor.
Not a video of them using drugs, to be clear. Just a video.
A video of the behavior. We'll get
I'll read
that
behavior, including just like a minute's worth, and then the underlying video. Which, by the way, one of the things you point out is there's actually not clear evidence of any white powder on his nose.
I looked.
There's claims that there was white powder on his nose when he came back. Like, once again, let's just go back to this for a second.
Like, stop. No. Don't do it. Don't do it. Remember that rollerball movie where James Caan killed Japanese people with his bare fucking hands? That's what we need. That would stop anime. A nuke doesn't stop anime. bare fucking hands of James Caan, he'll kill every anime motherfucker on the planet. He can team up with Charlie Bronson in Kinjite. He's like, I don't need your kimono wearing motherfucking slant-eyed asses out there. Kill yourselves. I'm making fried rice the Chinese way. I'm like, Charlie Bronson, what are you doing? Like, that's like Charlize Theron, monster. You're weird. You're ugly. You look like a man. And I'm like, oh, yeah, Charlie Bronson. He had a rope. He had a rope, but he didn't use it.
Closely, because everyone said it, and I was like, and I had seen the clip, and I was like, oh, that can't be the clip, because I don't see, I could maybe see glare if I wanted to be really, really meticulous.
Well, not only that, what's the giveaway that the cop, that a judge would flag right away? Photo in the search warrant.
Where he has been, making public statements not so favorable of the judge. I'm not sure about.
I don't know if you can see the chat. The chat are literally all shitting on him.
He's called out the judge as incompetent and corrupt. And what is that judge doing involved in this case? Was that judge the one who signed the search warrant? So the third source.
This was the judge that he talked about squeezing out pussy juice, or it was.
So first source, pastor coming in telling what other people have told him. Second source, the cop interpreting videos, social media, online videos, but very limited what videos he's looked at. And the third is another social media blogger making statements that he infers have certain meanings. Not that these statements, because this person has later on made new statements, but not at the time of the search warrant affidavit. People are tending to confuse the two. It's like,
Dude,
that's not what's in the search warrant affidavit.
It is not worth ignoring or omitting that the person that you're talking about is the disgruntled ex-spouse of the woman who's living at the house, having.
Exactly. I mean, so literally, it's church gossip, social media gossip, and a cop pretending he's an expert based on a single body language interpretation of a video and comparing two photos.
But they found the 26 grams of cocaine.
I mean, none of which has anything to do with drugs. Lawyer he was.
None of that has anything to do with
But
drugs.
so Minnesota, like pretty much everywhere. Now, why might the Fourth Amendment standards be uniform, everybody? Why might they be the same in pretty much every state in America? Why not? Why might they be the same in all the federal courts across the jurisdictions? Oh, I don't know. Because it's the Fourth Amendment to the United States Constitution.
The supreme law of the land.
Yeah, I mean, come on, LawTube. Lord have mercy. But they're like, oh, maybe there's something specific about Minnesota.
Well, but let me ask you the one thing, because we're going to get to it. I like the fact that you broke it down into three, because you got your hearsay element, which is what it is. Then you've got your analysis element, which is what it is.
Hearsay.
It's well, I'll get there.
Hearsay.
So
which we'll explain to people. There's different kinds of guidance, and it's specifically noted that the child neglect reporting provision is not an exception to that privilege under Minnesota law, by the way. So it raises an issue whether he was hinting at or implying he knew anything else. But so what? That by itself, he mentions this, and it's like, that's not evidence of criminality.
We'll get there. But listen to this. Your affiant knows personally of these personalities.
Pal, you're bad at social media as you are at law. Stick in your
Morning show. Cripe, what's going on? Hold on, sorry, something just.
I'm just trying to find where he starts talking about how the Constitution.
He knows that these are personalities of the Steel Toe Morning Show, which used to be in St. Cloud, Minnesota radio. However, as of recent years,
how completely out of touch a large number of these people in LawTube are. The reason, if now I happen to do a cross section of these areas of law for a quarter century, talking about things they know outside of the affidavit. That doesn't matter. It's what's in the affidavit.
And well, I'll get to what many people are arguing is the crux of it. This is at page 2. It was reported from a church preschool teacher that the children had complained of being hungry, not fed, and wearing the same clothes for 3 to 4 days at a time, and would start to smell.
Now listen to the
Libertarian Party.
Oops, shit.
And
Okay.
I
Oops.
will.
It was
what should highlight to you? So we know 2 facts from the search warrant affidavit. One, the kids are aged 6 to 16 and prosecute someone. How completely out of touch a large because it concerns the fundamental right of parents to control care and custody of their children. So that means in order for the state to criminalize some behavior of a parent with a child, there must be a nexus to harm to the child, and usually it's substantial harm, prove of, if you don't show it directly causing emotional and physical harm.
Complained of being hungry.
Now, what's the first problem with that?
It was
what should highlight to you? So we know two facts from the search warrant affidavit. One, the kids are aged 6 to 16. Second, they say this is a church preschool teacher.
well. So that's the question I had: is that this preschool teacher might not even be the kids' teachers, but they're homeschooling, so there might be some, I don't know,
That's
familiarity.
not included in the affidavit of note. Why isn't that included in the affidavit?
Maybe it's
Is it
not the case.
because it would raise questions about the church preschool teacher as a source, right? And here again, the actual source is not the children. The actual source is not the teacher. The actual source is not even the pastor. The actual source is the cop reporting what he says the pastor said about what he says the church preschool teacher said about what they say the kids said. But it's not identified when they said it, the context they said it, where they said it.
Does that need to be in the affidavit?
Was it all of them? Were all 5 children, 6 to 16, sitting in preschool together at the same
And also,
time?
and Robert, like I like this
There's
is
a clue
point-
here. By the
Well,
way.
like we don't know it's just such fucking nitpicking. Like maybe the person teaches multiple things.
To all of this. But we'll get to it in a second.
Well, no, and I'm going to play not devil's advocate, but just the advocate. A lawyer's going to come in here and say, look, I was talking about this with my wife. 20% of Canadian children report going hungry. So let's just say that they have financial
I
problems.
guarantee your kids are. Who knows? I mean, everybody's ever had kids said that they're hungry. How many times have they been on this?
Hungry and dirty. Like if you have kids.
No, here's the second. Look at that. So they complained about smelly clothes because they hadn't changed. 6 to 16 years of age. So are 16-year-olds incapable of changing their own clothes?
Well, we don't know. Let's assume the worst. Although it doesn't say.
Well, who even cares? Like it's a non sequitur.
If you take apart that statement doesn't really make any sense. It's implied to make a judge reading it quickly without thinking it through and doing a cross check of there's 3 and 4-year-olds going to a preschool who are starving and have no clothes.
Well, but the question I had.
Can't apply here because all the
When?
and noted
Like,
it was
when?
reported. All of a sudden, authorship is gone.
No,
All of a
it's
sudden, who
the
reported
passive.
it?
It just happens. It was reported. Who did it?
And maybe the pastor told them this, or maybe the pastor didn't even all day. And the parent they complained about was a parent that had a documented record,
I'm just trying to find where he starts going
things
off
like
about
that.
it.
or like the case, the main Minnesota Supreme Court case, the people were testifying against their own criminal interest. So they're like, okay, that's evidence of reliability that might make them unreliable. Into you why that is. Guess what percentage of child neglect and abuse reports turned out to be true? Well, what would you guess the percentage was?
15%.
4%. 4%. Anybody familiar with this world knows the first way you get payback at somebody is you report neglect. You report abuse. Oh, I'm pretty sure they're abusing. Oh, yeah, I saw it at the store.
I want to bring this up. Like, it's wild that the details. I thought that was saying looking at the affidavit without infusing what we think or what we know.
All search warrant challenges, guess what? Guess what context they happen in? In criminal cases. They happen in criminal cases. Justify a warrant because
Then potentially for the purposes of enhancing the charges after they raid, they were at 26.2 grams, which brought it 1.2 grams over the threshold of 25. If they made it,
including the packaging,
well,
by the way.
that,
If the packaging, it was less than 20.
and if it included, I don't know if people crush up prescription meds for whatever the reason. If it accidentally includes prescription meds, fine, he's in possession,
Well, or
but you bumped it up
Robert-
to 20. Say it again.
Robert pointed out, and some others have pointed out, often there was a good criminal law commentator on legal mindset that pointed out that in some jurisdictions, it has to only be the illegal substance, and often the illegal substance is mixed with other substances that are not
What
illegal,
a cope.
and that would reduce it. And for those that don't know, the difference is 25 grams makes it more than 25 grams makes it puts a whole different level.
25-year maximum versus whatever under
and
25
like
is.
a 5.5 year at minimum sentence for a first time offender. Less than 25, you're in a totally different territory. So, by the way, that was a sign to me when I read that. It was like, okay, this is a biased cop who's out to get somebody. He's manufacturing a false charge based on inflating, trying to pretend that the packaging includes the weight for a legal substance. So, but basically, the big statement everybody's focused on
is the kids.
It's fourth-hand hearsay, has no temporal relevance, isn't connected up to anything, didn't come directly from the kids, didn't correctly come from a teacher, couldn't have come from their teacher because it's a preschool teacher, and all of them are outside of preschool. And even if it was taken as true, it doesn't constitute child abuse or neglect on its face. So we already have the pastor's church gossip doesn't add up to anything.
Wait, Barbara, let me
now we get category 2 and category 3 of evidence, which is the social media troll and the I mean, that's his persona, by the way, is that, that's kind of what he does. The and then the cops psychoanalysis
but we'll
of the
get
video.
Before we get there, I want to finish the paragraph because it went, the allegations of the child neglect are the serious ones, and that's what they are. But then the rest are, I would say, funny, but it's tragic. This is reading from the first paragraph of page 3. Nicholas was reported to being lethargic and appeared high or drugged driving a car around. Reported. By whom? Yeah. I don't know. Another individual advised the reported, that I presume that means
Kane, look at all that energy he gets after he drinks Amos Miller's milk. I guess according to these legal geniuses online, they should be raiding my house tomorrow.
I got possible. And this is they're even saying
problem number 1. Okay. Problem number 2 is it's or. Boo. What you have is a corrupt cop writing a fake warrant that he's throwing things in together in ways that are temporally disconnected, authorship-wise disconnected, to create a false impression of something that's actually not even factually alleged by anybody with specificity.
And everybody who's been watching Rekeita or the recent Meltdown streams, whether or not they think it's acting, will say, oh, well, this fits with what I already believe, therefore...
That's not the definition. That's not how we approach a search warrant.
I'm trying to find where he says that the Constitution allows you to do drugs.
It overall appears, quote, strung out. He also appears tired, lethargic, and strung out as well. Well, or take
here's the factual basis for it, or the legal basis for it. But you change it to Trump, or vice versa, and you'll suddenly see reversal. So that's a way to train your mind to do good legal analysis.
Can you look up?
Take the name of Nick Rado out. Make this rando case anywhere in the world. Put in the same set of facts.
Trying to see.
Is that probable cause? Find one case in the country.
Well, listen to this. Your affiant believes his behavior is indicative of central nervous system stimulants. How many times have people...
According to Nick the lawyer, this is clearly probable cause. Nick, follow-up investigation. Why wasn't there an initial investigation? Why isn't child and gossip? He's scared that if it...
into the evidence, in the evidence sheet there, what is it? The property inventory sheet?
Of course. And it would have been, I told people from day one, with this cop having an obvious bias that you can reasonably infer from the detention warrant, that if he had any really bad facts.
Okay, I can't find it, but he claimed that. So that is what was claimed. Okay, so that was the defense, and that is the defense that is leading to all the other defenses. So let's take a look at... Nick decided to come out after the thing happened. So let's see here what his response was, and if he did a good reaction to this or not.
I'm going to talk for a minute, very briefly, and then we'll. I'm going to read the chats, and then we'll go. This is not going to be a long stream. It was going to be a much longer stream, but first the release of information that's supposed to be protected. At a very specific time, right after I announce a show and right before the show starts, is something that is concerning, and of course, I will have a lawyer looking into that right away. I know people want to draw conclusions from whatever's going on, and look, there's no way around it. There's nothing to say other than
People will get to draw their conclusions from what they read. I'm not here to fight you guys at all. I'm not here to fight your conclusions. I'm not here to fight or justify or prove anything. I don't need to do that for you. Believe it or not, a lot of really well-meaning friends want me to do that. And these people are lawyers, which is shocking. They want me. I'll say it this way. They say, Nick, you need to do X, Y, and Z because of your YouTube channel and your online image. And my response is, sir, madam, I don't know if you know this, but the lowest priority in my life right now is my public image for the purposes of YouTube and Rumble. So any of you who want me to come out here and like do some weird grandiose apology or prostrate myself in front of you, let me just help you with my public image right now. Fuck you. Right in your goddamn mouth. I'm not here to worry about what you think about me.
Does this man sound like someone who's worried about what you think about him? Does this man seem like he cares that he's getting A-logged, that people are shitting on him, stuff like that? So he's going to go fucking insane in this, and I'll just let this play. I'm just seeing if I can find the Robert Barnes thing in the background.
And that should be obvious to damn near anybody. And if you think it's in my character to come out and grovel before you and say, oh, I'm so sorry I let you down. I didn't let you down. I didn't pick you up. I didn't make you, and I didn't make promises to you. So if you feel let down by me, let yourself down from the stool, Robin Williams. I'm not here for you. I'm not here to own your feelings, and I'm not here to apologize to your feelings and sensibilities either. And if I did, you shouldn't respect me, because anybody who comes out like a little fucking bitch and says, I really am worried about my public image, not my family, not my liberty, not holding government accountable, none of that, but my public image, my public image? Well, you're probably a fat Canadian, or maybe a skinny Canadian who can't fly to the right city. Or maybe you're a doughy Minnesotan. I don't know who you are. But I'm not here to apologize to you or for anything. I am under the thumb of government at the moment, which means government gets to say whatever they want about me, and I don't get to respond.
So does this man sound like he cares about his public image? Okay, so I think I found this. Let me just load this. We'll come back to this in a second. I think I found the clip of Robert Barnes saying the Second Amendment allows you to do this.
This is all wrong. I shouldn't be up here.
Questions under the First Amendment, the Second Amendment.
And then police showed up. This is all in public court documents. They wouldn't open the door. They battered the door down, and they found a bunch of stuff when they came there for that reason from the warrant. Take it from there, because I don't know what more I can add to the situation.
There are substantial constitutional questions about everything connected to the Rekeita case. So there's been a lot of focus in LawTube on the substantive charges and those that want to make sure that Nick's health is in good state, and that's understandable. But I think LawTube should start to focus on the constitutional issues of what's taking place here. You have a high-profile critic of the local court system, of the local prosecutors, of the local police, suddenly being subject to an extraordinary search warrant raid and questionable charges that raise questions under the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, the Fifth Amendment, and even the Sixth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. Within 2 days of this case, there are major constitutional questions about the conduct of the government. And that to date has not been talked about at great length. So the First Amendment question is, you look at the underlying facts, and I expected to find something different in the probable cause affidavit supporting detention than what I found. According to the only allegation, there's a lot of false statements being made out there. I love the quartering, but he's been taken in by some of these false statements and false claims. Just go to what is actually alleged in the prosecutor's office involved apparent wellness check, not a search warrant and raid of somebody's home. So that is, I find, and the question is it a coincidence that the judges involved apparently in this effort are judges that Nick has been very publicly critical of and questioning not only their competency but their ethics, that it involves a prosecutor's office that Nick has been publicly critical of, exposing issues of corruption and competence, and a police department he has been publicly critical of, exposing corruption and competence.
And to stop you there for a moment, because I heard the same thing as well, and I had the same.
It's a conspiracy, guys. Okay, here we go. Let's get to this. I think this is where he says it's not a crime to have drugs.
Also, President Trump has raised in all of his cases. Then you get to the Second Amendment issues. I was curious. I was like, okay, why is there a gun charge here? He legally had the right to possess the guns. He's got no criminal history of any category. And I thought, well, there must be something in the probable cause for detention that will say the guns were in the presence of the children or something like that. Nope. It's in his private bedroom, his personal bedroom. In the bathroom of that bedroom is where they found the substances and where they found a gun and some ammunition.
But I thought the substances were planted. So they're admitting. So is he admitting the substances were there?
It's like, how is that grounds for under the Second Amendment to charge anybody with a crime? And then you have the bail provisions that say because you've now been charged with this crime, you have no Second Amendment rights. You lose your right to possess a gun in Minnesota under their regular routine conditions of bail in Minnesota. That strikes me as violating the Second Amendment. And we've discussed this before. Remember the Oklahoma case, other cases. There is no constitutional history, and that's the standard under Bruin, of criminally punishing someone merely for possession of a gun, merely because they've also been charged with possession of some illegal substance.
I'm pretty sure there has been. Bartz, I'm going to need to see receipts on that one, buddy. I'm pretty sure it is.
It's only been illegal use of a gun at the time you possess or are under the influence.
Okay, come on, dude.
Of illegal substances or under the influence beyond the range of what's illegal, such as alcohol, and usually in a public place. And so I think that the criminal charge of the gun charge against Rekeita patently violates his Second Amendment rights. I think the bail condition violates the Second Amendment rights.
Well, the gun charge is a gross misdemeanor, so 364 days maximum sentence. The big one is the possession of a controlled substance.
The other thing is they use it as an enhancement for sentencing purposes on the drug charge. So there's a dual level influence of that particular aspect, and there's no allegation.
I think as well, and if I made a mistake, I'll correct myself on Twitter. They were saying 50,000. What was it? Unconditional. It was a UR. There was an acronym they used, and it sounded.
Either one will secure your appearance later. How does taking away somebody's Second Amendment rights secure their appearance later?
But then, I mean, why wouldn't the options? I thought they were alternative, and then I thought they were cumulative when they were agreed to. It was 50,000 bond, which he would have only had to post 10% and get the rest by a bonding company, or these conditions. Or these
depends on the jurisdiction. There's some places that are pure cash bail where you have to post the whole amount. I think in Minnesota you can get a bail.
So that's the explanation. Okay, so let's go back to Nick coping.
That's a shit place to be. We've talked about it a lot on this show. What's funny is a lot of my colleagues have talked a lot about it too. But the moment it happens, they all tuck their nuts up into their own assholes and become the biggest pack of fucking gabbling women I've ever seen. Running around, come out, apologize, bow down, bow, beg, tell everybody that you're sorry. For what? What am I sorry for? They don't know what I'm supposed to be sorry for. I don't know.
Is he just being facetious? I mean, everybody's pretty clearly stated what he's supposed to be sorry for.
what I'm supposed to be sorry for. What I know is that government has accused me of some criminal acts.
Yep.
Those criminal acts have impacted me and my family.
That's a very bad way of putting it, Nick.
The accusation from government is not a conviction. It may convict you in the eyes of people, and that's fine. If I'm convicted in your eyes, good. Go find someone else. You're now validated. I bid you adieu.
This is so fucking childish, just throwing a hissy fit.
I'm sorry I let you down by never promising anything and doing something that you didn't approve of, maybe.
I never had an image of like a father figure. I never promised to not give my kids cocaine. What? Like, you know what this is? This is like the Chris Rock Black People versus Enslers thing, where he's like, well, you can't expect a father to not give his kids cocaine. Like what kind of fucked up logic is that? Like, dude, you portrayed yourself as a family man, as a Christian, as a conservative, even if you weren't, dude, the most basic fucking level of being a parent is feeding your kids. Like, I don't care if you're father of the year or not. If your kids are not being fed and you're a fucking millionaire with a stay-at-home wife and you stay at home, then yeah.
Except that thing that I'm supposed to have done still remains to be seen. But I will say this. I will be holding government to its full accountability to the extent of my rights. And anybody who thinks I shouldn't do that, okay, I don't know what law channels you're watching. Probably a cockeyed Koreans or something. Someone who doesn't understand the value of innocence until proven guilt. Someone who doesn't understand the value of constitutional rights. Or maybe people who just like to talk really big about not listening to government until the government comes knocking. Then suddenly, they're fucking pussies. Running around in the truest definitions of a 90s it, crying, prostrating themselves, begging for the leather to put their tongue on, like it's a big chocolate starfish of their local police chief or whatever.
No, but Adam, the claim is that all of this, and we'll get into this in a second, because he claims that all of this was completely made up, that Miss Sweep lied under oath, that the cops lied under oath, that this was entirely fabricated. Now, as we just saw from the Robert Barnes thing, he admitted that he had all the drugs, that the drugs were real, and that they weren't planted.
Sorry. You will never, ever find that attitude from me or my channel. And you will never have me apologize to you for anything in my life other than being late to streams and being generally inept and retarded at running them. I'll apologize for that because I'm guilty of that. But anybody out there speculating right now about whether or not a government document is accurate, well, I'll let you determine if government is accurate or not. It's not up to me. It's up to the government to prove they're accurate. As for me, I have a lot to say.
Note that I don't think he ever actually denies that any of this happened. He just claims that the government can't prove it, which is, yeah.
A lot to say about what is on documents that have been released. Paper copies of documents released before they're available to the public. That's a little strange. Case files that are protected being accessed by members of the public. That's a little strange. The timing of certain drops coming out. That's a little strange. The thinness of a search warrant's probable cause statement, very strange. But it's not for me to fight these things on YouTube. And anybody who suggests that I should, or that I've...
Press 1 if Nick is addressing the case and the specific details of it on YouTube and is fighting this on YouTube. Press 2 if Nick is keeping quiet about it and is not discussing any legally sensitive information that can and will be used against him in a court of law.
I have some duty to explain to you my legal strategy, my legal avenues for doing this, or that anything I say or don't say is somehow either an admission or an omission of some duty I owe to the general public. Anyone who's saying that, anyone who is saying that is a lying grifter in the truest, not funny sense of the word. And I have zero respect for anyone like that.
Well, like, dude, why are you doing this stream? Why, like, and this is not the first one he's done. He keeps doing this. He keeps going on and screaming, and it's just like, dude. Somebody pointed out last night when I was covering this, just briefly. Do you really want a jury to see this video, especially a jury with women on it? I would not want that.
Especially if they call themselves a lawyer. Anyone who calls themselves a lawyer and immediately demands me to run out and bend over before government not only shouldn't be a lawyer, they shouldn't be an American, and they shouldn't be a lot of other things. Because last I checked, we don't do that round here. I've long talked about the transparency of courts and what they're for. It's amazingly ironic to me that people...
I just want to ask the chat, because maybe I'm just being completely, like, unfair. Maybe I'm not giving Nick the benefit of the doubt. Maybe I'm injecting my own biases. The impression that I get from all of this is the basis of the argument is that the things that Nick did aren't illegal and that government doesn't have the right to prosecute crimes. And that is more of the issue. I don't really see any real denial of the charges against him. I don't see them claiming that the kids were taken care of, that he wasn't on drugs, all that kind of stuff. What I'm seeing is you can't prove in a court of law that I did the stuff that I actually did. That you can't prove it, or that you can't prove it, or that it's not a crime. Like, we have Robert Barnes, it's not a crime to have guns and drugs. It's not a crime to have drugs. It just, that seems what it is. And once again, like, you can say whether these things should be crimes or not, but I'm pretty sure these things are crimes.
Well, hear me talk about that. They'll agree with me. The transparency of courts was always to hold government accountable, by the way, not your fellow man. It was always to hold government accountable. It was because prior to the United States, the legal system was that of the King of England. And he had the Star Chamber. He was the court. He was the enforcement arm of law, the judgment arm of law. And those courts were held in private. People's charges were private. The details about them were private. The public wasn't allowed to analyze them. I've talked about how, even though it can be embarrassing, our country was founded on the principle of distrust of its authority, distrust of its government, a healthy, necessary evil.
It was founded on the on trust in Nick Rekeita.
Of putting a few people in charge of many, but holding them accountable and adhering to freedom. And the amount of fucking pussies out there now who consistently lose that principle and say, no, actually, government must be correct at all times, baffles me.
You know what this is? This is basically what John Leibowitz said, that we can't enforce laws on subways because of freedom. Like, isn't like, is that even part of libertarianism? People can maybe disagree. Like, I thought libertarians were, like, believed in criminal law, like in Law and Order. Like, I don't get how these things are mutually exclusive. Like, I don't get how enforcing basic criminal law is necessarily opposed to libertarianism. Like I don't get it. Like you want less government control, but isn't that kind of the conservative? Isn't this kind of the conservative argument? Like we want less government involvement in the economy, in like micromanaging your life, but we want like government to do what they're actually supposed to do, which is like secure the border, go after gangbangers, drug smugglers, like dirt bags. I mean, isn't law and order like a basic conservative thing? And once again, the U.S. government is incredibly corrupt, and the U.S. court system is incredibly corrupt. But even a corrupt government has the right to punish people who have committed actual crimes. And Nick, these aren't like hate speech crimes or like a political crime or something like that. There is credible evidence that you were giving your kids cocaine, or you were exposing them to fucking cocaine, and they could have died from that, and that you weren't feeding your kids. And once again, if we want to talk about the whole gun thing, I might be a cuck Canadian. I might not understand the Second Amendment, but I don't think it's acceptable to be fucking high out of your mind and have loaded guns lying around. I just don't think that is acceptable. I don't think that's smart, especially when you have kids. I think if you have kids, you shouldn't be leaving loaded guns lying around, especially if you're fucking high. Like, I don't get, like, is this me being like an authoritarian, or like me being a shitlib, that I think that is not a good idea? Like, you saw him on that stream. He had no idea where the fuck he even was. Should there really be loaded guns? Like, I don't know.
Me more when they work with the government in the system and still think that way. I will not. I never will.
Dude, Maoist China had the right to put people to death for rape. And I hate Maoist China. And I hate Mao more than just about anybody else in history.
You'll never get that from me on this channel. I will not be coming out here crying to you about something that didn't ever involve anyone here.
I mean, but it kind of did, Nick. You're involving everybody here. Why are you doing this giant rant about how it doesn't involve everybody here?
You watch this show because for some reason it entertains you. I often fucking wonder what it is. Because I couldn't watch my show. I would find it terrible. And maybe you do, and maybe that's what you like. That's cool.
What a fucking piece of shit. What a piece of garbage, Nick. This is something I hate. I'm just gonna get pissed here for a minute. Look, I love you guys. The fact that you like my rambling, that you find me funny, you find me interesting, that you learn something from me, that you take time out of your day to watch me and enjoy it, what the content I produce amazes me. And I'm immensely grateful for that I'm able to get my views out there. And I've met a lot of cool people from doing this. I've made friends that I'll have for the rest of my life, like Serp, like Torellian. And this fucking, I can't say it on YouTube, this F slur is just shitting on them. They're just like, you're retarded for watching me. And earlier on, he's just like, stop watching me. I don't owe you anything. It's just like, dude, don't. Like, it's just, it's the lack of basic gratitude, and just the lack of any kind of appreciation for what he has. Just the sense of entitlement is really, it just grows. It's just disgusting. Obviously, it's not a crime, but it makes you a scumbag.
Maybe you find it wildly enjoyable. That's great. I'm glad. I come out here to entertain you. Now, this stream is not about entertainment, although many of you will probably be entertained by it, and that's good. This stream is one of the few real serious streams that I have to do. Because I will be back.
I always come back. But dude, you don't have to do this. You shouldn't be doing this.
Full-time streaming. And this was going to be the announcement for that. A little bit of recognition of the differences in the studio that I have.
well, not different. It's the same studio, but different decorations and arrangements of things. And there's still some stuff to be done on it.
By the way, that Johnny Depp poster was $30,000. Just keep that in mind.
We were going to talk about my biggest current concern, which is I got more fan mail, but tonight's no longer appropriate for that. Yes, that's right. In the midst of all of this, I got an ethics complaint for swearing too fucking much, which puts me at, I think, 57.
Once again, why would you tell people that? Why would you say, look, you can send ethics complaints in against me? Don't give the audience ideas.
I think. I lost count. It was going to be a more entertainment-focused show. I know people are going to have...
So, once again, I think the best, thing Nick could have done, and I said this last night, but just to repeat it, is said, look, I got into this whole YouTuber lifestyle. I was making amounts of money I'd never seen. I was hanging out with the kind of people that I would never... I'd never get involved with any before, and I just got wrapped up in it, and I got wrapped up in cocaine and drug use and the swinger lifestyle, and I made some bad decisions. I made some mistakes. I made some bad decisions. I take responsibility for the things that I did, and I ask the court for mercy and to give me a chance to try to do better, and do better by my wife and do better by my kids. Maybe that's not how you're supposed to go about it, but I think that would be better than this.
Commentary, they're going to have questions. They're going to have demands about my situation. And I'll just have to say, all the things I'm going to say impactful to my case will be said through counsel.
Well, but dude, you're saying stuff impactful to your case.
In court. They won't be said here. You've watched this channel long enough, you should understand that. And if that's not acceptable to you, too fucking bad. There's no other way for me to do it. Right now, I am charged with a serious felony. Many of you have heard that sentence. Possibility is 25 years. It's a very unlikely outcome for someone like me, but it is a possibility, I suppose, in the grand scheme of things. That's not something to be taken lightly. It's not something to be laughed at. People come out and they say, Nick hasn't taken accountability.
But Nick, you laughed at people for years. Isn't that his entire channel was laughing at people's legal problems?
For his actions. And I'm like, the government hasn't proven my actions. So how can I take accountability?
So once again, it's not that he didn't do the stuff he was accused of. It's that they haven't proven that he's done the stuff he's accused of.
For that which hasn't been shown. What I do know is this. I have counsel in this case. People thought I would represent myself because I guess they're retarded. I have counsel in this case. He seems like a good dude, a competent dude, and we will be going through this and doing what needs to be done. I see a lot of speculation on the internet, and I can see basically all of it has many of the major details wrong. And that's fine. Most of the details aren't for anybody. And that covers a whole lot more than the criminal case, just my life. My life story is becoming marvelously interesting, even though it's painful and really fucking annoying a lot of the time. But government will be dealt with as, I guess, time permits.
Patriots are in control.
I'm not even sure how to say it. As the time becomes appropriate, government will be dealt with in course. These charges will be dealt with in course. And I know what many of you are saying about these types of charges and the allegations against me. And you know what? Say what you will. Watch. You get to watch it live. You get to see what it does with me, to me. You get to see the outcome as it happens. It's pretty fucking rare. Should be a good show for you guys. For me, it'll be one of the most stressful and horrifying times of my entire life.
Okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much seethe is this? How hard is he seething now?
As I've always said, being under indictment by the government is one of the worst positions people can be in. But I'll deal with it. Because unlike groveling, sniveling commentators online who've never had to deal with any actual adversity in their lives.
Dude, you've never had to deal with any adversity in your life.
That's what you do. That's not what a man does. That's not what a woman does. It's not about masculinity or femininity or anything. That's about what people have to do. There are times in your life where you are faced with something that you never could have imagined, that you never could predict, that you will not be prepared for. And again, I feel like a broken ass record because I've said all of this in the context of other people. When you are under the thumb of government, you are not prepared for it.
Well, dude, how are you not prepared for it? You had all the fucking drugs. Like, what did you think was going to happen? I mean, once again, you can say that, like, drugs should be legal. You can say the drug laws are unfair. But, like, are we supposed to believe that you're so retarded and such a bad lawyer you didn't know that having large amounts of cocaine and ketamine was probably not going to end well?
No matter what you think you are not prepared for it. They will go after you in ways that you do not expect. They will come at you with information and you won't know if it's true. And you won't be able to adequately challenge it right away. There's a process. And that process in and of itself is designed to grind you into dirt. It's designed to make you capitulate to government. Because they'll say, we have this and this and this. And you'll say, fuck you, show me. And when you do take a moment, and you work with government, and you can find this in the recently leaked documents, and you cooperate by, say, asking them to come into your home, they will lie under oath to the judge. That's right, Alicia Sweep. They will lie under oath to the judge. They will fabricate a situation that did not occur. They will lie about your willingness to cooperate. They will lie about things that you said. They will generate statements said by other people out of nothing because I was there and that wasn't said. They will violate the rules of evidence. They will violate the rules of civil procedure. They will violate the rules of juvenile procedure. And disinterested judges and very fucking terrible.
Okay, I just want to ask, a question. Was it a good idea of accusing the CPS worker of lying under oath, which I'm pretty sure is a crime? Isn't that a crime? Like to lie to a judge under oath? So he accused her of perjury, right? Like, why did he think that was a good idea?
Attorneys will let it all go.
Unfortunately, even Alicia Sweeps couldn't sweep it.
Because everyone grovels at the feet of government. But I don't. If you're ever in a situation like mine, and I pray that you're not, do not allow anyone to convince you that you should grovel before government.
I'm just going to run to the bathroom. I'll be
outcome.
back in a second.
Don't do it. Government's system of punishment is designed to fuck you. And it does it mercilessly, relentlessly, unapologetically, and it doesn't even call you good girl and spit in your mouth. It just does it. And when you're tired and bleeding on the bed, it does it again and again and again. You can't roll over until you're sore enough. And that's what they want you to do, is roll over. Don't. Fight for your rights. You have them. They exist for a reason, including your right to free speech. And I will sit here and I will fight for every one of those commentators' rights to be a giant coward in the face of someone else's plight. And it's amazing to watch these people that I thought were courageous quiver in fear, performatively, just to beg you for one more $20 donation, please. It's embarrassing. With that, as stated, I will not be talking about my case. I will be resuming content focused on...
He's not talking about his case, guys. This isn't him talking about it. So let's go to the government conspiracy. I think he goes into more detail about the government conspiracy. Let's see here. Okay, here we go. This is the biggest, like, insane thing. This is the biggest, most ironic statement I think I've ever seen.
McNasty says, want to ask you, Nick, about this current thing where a lot of old heads are getting bashed for a misstep. Not just you, but Masterson, Medicare, etc. Is this just a cycle of the internet to jump on the fallen of some other BS? It's just the nature of the business. You talk about people, you're going to get talked about. You're going to make somebody mad, and then they're going to do something to you. Like, sometimes things happen and people get a wrong idea in their heads, and they feel justified in trying to cause you and the people that you love serious amounts of pain. That's not most people on the internet. Most people on the internet just laugh at the ongoing dumpster fire that is all over and circling around them. But there are some sad, pathetic people who can't realize their own inadequacy. And when that inadequacy manifests and their life suffers consequences because their inability to be introspective, their unwillingness to self-examine or accept criticism or even self-critique, they rewrite their own history. They make up stories. They come up with a timeline and a set of facts that doesn't exist to justify their own failures. No matter how many times those failures were pointed out to them in friendly ways, they just can't do it. Someone else did it to them because it certainly couldn't be their own fault. And those are the people who foist themselves up as some sort of paragon while openly trying to damage and destroy lives of innocents. And those people will probably have to deal with the consequences of their actions at some point.
I don't think that even needs commentary. I think that speaks for itself. Let's see here. Not legal. Aaron. Okay, let's see. Let's go up to the government conspiracy. Here we go.
So let's go ahead and jump into like what Nick had to say. And you guys have already said it in the chat. Nick's pretty much saying that the government's lying, right? And that is also not out of the realm of possibility. But like I said, so many things are fucking lining up where it just feels kind of like fuck, you know?
Take a moment. When you do take a moment and you work with government, and you can find this in the recently leaked documents.
Okay, so that's not it. Let's look at let's look at some of these other clips.
Billy the Kid Lawrence says, people are going to feel real stupid for believing a bunch of BS when your case is over. People will believe what they believe. This is the thing. And I'm trying to get this across. Look, there are a few people, very few people, who know almost all of the story. I don't even know all of the story.
Because you're high.
I'm learning shit about my own situation because, hey, I wasn't there for some of it.
Because you were fucking high.
So I'm learning shit about my own situation. I'm learning shit about my life. Who has the complete story? That's what all of this shit is for, finding the story. Right now, people have one side because one side gets to tell a story. They get to craft a narrative. And the other side, anything they say about that narrative can be used to put them in prison forever. So one side gets to say whatever they want, and they can lie. They can fabricate details. They can screw up. And guess how often they get punished? Almost never. They almost never get punished because it doesn't behoove government to punish itself. It just doesn't. People always ask during trials, well, they lied on the stand. Are perjury? Well, the perjury is based on the information they have access to. And believe me, I would love to give you access to all kinds of information.
Okay, let me see here. Why is he still talking about it? Let me see here. What else do we have? Trying to find, I think there's like maybe one or two more. Let's go back to, let's see what clips she has of the comeback stream. Okay, DSP moment. Porn consumption, its impact on marriage. Let's see here. The Karen Reed trial, I don't remember that. I'm just trying to find where it is. Okay, we will look at the super chats and then we will wrap this up. Let's see, where's the super chats? There's a super chat compilation. Yeah, there we go. Are you guys ready for the single worst take on Christianity of all time?
Some people are like laughing that I have, or like, I don't even want to say laughing. Like, oh, he has Law Pope as a vanity plate? Yes. It was a funny joke when I got it. And people are like, yeah, I don't know about that. It's like, people's memories are like fucking goldfish, and their ability to remember that life is still supposed to be fun. A spooky ghost says, stop neglecting your stream. We're not your kids. I don't neglect either of you. Seedfan85.
That was such an amazing blowout.
Says, I see the fascist haircut has returned. Is there a story behind it this time? Look, it's summer. In summer, I have my dude bring it down.
Okay, I'm going to take a shot at Aaron Imholte because he's an F slur. So Aaron Imholte has a talk show called Steel Toe Morning Show. It used to be on a radio station, but he got fired for breaking into the office of a coworker and stealing something. I forget what the exact, but he runs this talk show that nobody watches in the morning. And he was married to April, and he went to the Rekeita house, and he was part of the Polycule. And he did an interview on Kino Casino where he talked about how Kayla Rekeita is the love of his life, and she was the best woman she's ever met, and he loved her, and they were soulmates, and all this other stuff. And that Nick was just fucking his wife the whole time, and stuff like that. And the whole thing, like, he called himself a degenerate, but it's very clear he was trying to plead guilty to the lesser crime of just, like, being a cuck, than that he was actively involved in, like, the abuse of the kids and stuff. So he's like, oh, I didn't do drugs. I did, like, cocaine twice. I didn't really like it. I did Molly, like, once or twice. I kind of liked it, but I didn't do it again. I was feeding the kids. I was the only responsible person there. And he just keeps coming out and dropping more and more stuff. And I don't really believe I don't believe most of what he said, especially since, like, more things just keep coming out that are crazier than the last. So, no, I don't regard Aaron as being a reliable narrator.
Down way, way low because I have a heat allergy. something I've openly talked about forever. I have a heat allergy. I get hives when I get warm. I scratch them. Sometimes they bleed.
Aaron claims he would get hives on his dick during sex. I don't know if that's true or not.
Anime Sucks. Cope and Sneed says, hey, Nick. So I wasn't kidding when I asked if you could show this on stream and critique it. Files.catbox.mo. No, sorry, I'm not doing anything like that today. BTM Reviews, a huge super chat. Really appreciate it. Says, your friends are some of the worst people I used to think were smarter than me. Guess I was wrong because I never determined your guilt until I hear all sides of the court. Love you and Lady Rackets since Nashville. Hey, thank you. Thank you. Isn't that amazing? Johnny Rocket says, potentially criminal tested positive for jelly donuts and cum. What? That was rude. That was not very uncouth of you. Solid number 5 says, Nick, for the love of God, use your Fifth Amendment right. Like you said, everything about the case would be said through counsel. Yeah. I have very, very vehemently used my Fifth Amendment right.
Was him accusing the child aid worker of lying under oath in front of a judge? Was that him using his right to remain silent?
Quite often. Over and over. Again, I hope to tell you the story someday when we get all this shit cleared up. How's that? Phil the Stampede says, how funny was it that you and DSP did the same thing? Man, I wish I would have jerked off on stream. That would have been way funnier than what I was doing. YHVH Lord says, forget government. What about obeying God and his righteousness? His righteous.
Are you guys ready for the worst single take on Christianity of all time?
Judgment in order to avoid eternal hellfire. Government is nothing. Jesus is everything. There you have it, folks.
That was a based quote.
Don't worry about government. Make sure you're not going to have eternal hellfire. Government's nothing. Jesus is everything. Ignore the fact that Jesus said you don't have to worry about eternal hellfire because I kind of came around. I mean, you guys killed me, but I forgive you or whatever. Ignore that. Just go with this new weird Americanized, not Americanized, but modern Americanized Christianity where Jesus doesn't matter. This one that everyone wants you to believe now. It's really fucking strange, guys. I don't know what the hell people are talking about.
See, guys, that's how it works. Because Jesus died, that means you can just do whatever the fuck you want. You can be a degenerate. You can give your kids cocaine. And this is new. This is everyone before the 1960s just thought that you couldn't go to hell once you were baptized. It's not even saved by faith alone. It's just everybody is just unconditionally saved because of Jesus. And you can just do whatever you want with no consequences to your eternal soul.
Ugly Dan says, you're lying. You defended yourself and your mistresses in DMs. My mistresses? Oh, man. Guys, every day I find out how much cooler I am. It's amazing. IDK anymore says, at least PPP doesn't have kids with coke on them. If PPP has kids, he's probably about to eat them. Koof says, welcome back. Thank you for not killing yourself. Thank you, Koof. It was touch and go there for a minute, but I made it out. I had to get around myself for a few. Andrea Murray says, I found you 2020 to 2022. 11 years clean for me recently. Hope you're doing well. I'm doing exceedingly well. Sleepless well, under the circumstances. Because believe me, there are other options for what you want to do under these circumstances, and those options are not doing well. They involve buildings and falling off of them. Koof says, free Riley, release my clipper. Yeah, Riley's got some fun stuff going on too. It's always good. Hopefully he'll have a nice run-in with the law that turns out for him. Charitard says, is April still giving that Hoover Deluxe treatment? That month is long gone. I'm not sure what you're talking about there. Cars in Depth says, are you cool with mods censoring super chats? It really depends on what's in there. I don't know. Right now, I'm trusting my mods to protect private information, and I'm not able to follow along and watch what's being deleted, and I'm not going to fucking fret over it right now. If something was innocent that you sent and it got deleted, I'm sorry. I guess I wish I could. Wish I had the time and bandwidth to monitor all of that, but I don't. Not tonight. I come buckets. Potentially criminal, has diabetes, ripped legs. Hope not. I don't want him. Man, I hope he doesn't have to deal with that shit. Revy Rogue says, burn the Sonichu medallion. Oh, it will find its proper place. Nicholas DeOrio, message deleted. Hey, DeOrio, if you want me to if you want to ask something, just send me a DM, man. I usually answer them. Stinkmeister says, with everything going on, do you know when we can expect the 5K locals gift? Is it still a figure? Thanks. I don't know what a figure. It's not a figure. It was never a figure, but it is something I am working on. Still, even in the midst of all this. Joseph, pod awful is hack and failure at content. Oh, don't kick Jesse while he's down. That's not nice. Oh shit, biggest problem in the universe. What's up, man? How many push-ups do you think Null can do, and is it 0? No, why is it 0? That's the real question. Why, after all this time, can he still not do one? That's the real issue there. Hey, how many push-ups average can you two do, though?
Not many.
It sucks when your fat partner has a negative number, doesn't it, asshole? Mario Carter 13 says, I game with Mountain Dew. I hear your kids like Coke. No, they're not into fizzy drinks really at all. Kyler says, at least you're not Ralph. Look on the bright side. Well, I mean, I'm not anybody, just me. Swedish Asylum Seeker says, lol, Cal Mount Rushmore. DSP, Wings, Jack Murphy, and me. Look, only if I get Lincoln's spot. Reketamine. Look, I'm not allowed to laugh at stuff. I'm not allowed to find things funny because I'm in a very serious situation, so nothing can be funny ever again. But Reketamine's really fucking funny. That was funny. The first time I read it, I was like, God damn it, that's funny. Anyway, Reketamine says, heard you talking about Andrew's eye. That's funny because our wife looks like a cross-eyed ghoul. Why does your wife look like a cross-eyed ghoul? That's weird. Mascot 5 says, why did you say that Mexican can't spell corn? All they can spell is repair. What does that mean? Did I say that?
Yeah, you did.
That's too funny for me to have said it.
Yeah, you did. Well, you were high out of your mind.
Mo Lester says, I know viewership's been down, but wasn't there a better way to go viral? There's always a better way to go viral. That's why you went viral. Anyways, best wishes to you, the wife, and the girlfriend. Oh, thanks. Dodongo Manoof says, you're a lol cow. I'm not just a lol cow. I'm the best lol cow of 2023. You pay your proper respects, you fucking baby. What are you, some kind of Hindu weirdo? Respect my lol cowity. Guys, when you're accused by the government of a felony and they threaten to put you in prison for a really long time, you realize just how little some of these things actually
I don't know,
fucking
dude.
mean.
You're seething pretty bad.
You're a lol cow.
Okay, we're going to just end this with him
Ugly
shitting on
Dances,
his fans.
can you say yayo? I've been a fan since like 2021. Get it together, Nick. My karma went to shit on Reddit defending you. Let me address this real quick. This is actually really fucking important. Some people have said to me like, hey, it's hard to defend you or this and this. Defending you. Stop. I never asked anybody to defend me, ever. This goes all the way back to the Vic days when people are like, Nick, I defended you online, and then people started coming after me. I'm like, please don't. Please don't. You guys have read the allegations against me, I assume. You don't need to defend me. Those allegations exist from the government. They've been made. People are not going to accept your defense of me, and they don't have to. Please don't defend me. Do you even see me defending myself? No, I'm defending myself in court.
No, you're defending yourself.
Because again, the shocking number of people asking me to come online and defend my public image must have missed the fucking bus. and it must be a short one, I guess,
Whoa.
because you should know that my public image is just who I am. And you should know that there's no fucking way on earth I'm going to capitulate to a government accusation. The government has a burden. They have to meet it. Until they meet it, fuck it. Meet your burden. Then we'll talk. If they do, then we'll deal with that. But right now, they haven't even had to try. So until that's done, I'm not going to sit here and capitulate to anything. But the converse is, that means I don't get to defend myself. Okay. You shouldn't either. Don't put yourself out there on my behalf. I've never asked anybody to do that. I wouldn't ask you to do that.
I don't know about that, Nick.
So I know your karma score on Reddit isn't important. Well, maybe it is really important. But seriously, when you get involved with some of this stuff, with some of the people who are out there, especially some of the people who are out there commenting about me, you open yourself up to personal inspection, ridicule, and possibly more. Don't do that.
Well, I think that summarizes everything that's happened since my last video. I think this dude is fucked. And he is making the situation worse day by day. As someone pointed out in the section, Spud Ruckus said, Nick could just plead no contest. Now, my understanding of how no contest works in the U.S. is you're saying, I don't admit guilt, but I am not going to contest the charges, or I know I can't contest the charges, or I don't think I can, I don't have the time or the money to do it, which is what Ralph pled on the sex tape. So Nick could have just done that. He could have just pled no contest to it and said, I'll accept the sentence. I don't admit any guilt. But like, I don't know. This just doesn't seem like a very good idea, but I'll do another update on rackets if more stuff happens. But people have asked me to do an update. They wanted me to cover all the drama that happened since then. And that's it. Next time, I have some anime reviews I need to do. I just haven't gotten to them. Just because there's been so much insane shit going on. We will have a UCU at some point in the next couple days because Ukraine is preparing another counterattack. It's going to be the counter offensive 2, the Zelensky cut that is coming, and it's looking like it's going to be a massive shit show. So, God bless everybody. Have an excellent week.